Once you've cut out your bean bag, you have a right side and a wrong side. You want to put the right sides together, folded in half, hamburger style. This way's hamburger, this way's hot dog. So make sure it's hamburger style. And then you want to take it to the iron and press it so it has a nice crease right there on the edge. Okay. Now that you have it folded, you're going to have the folded side over to the left of the machine, and you're going to start a little bit down, about a 1/4 inch down from the top of the right edge. You're going to leave this top edge open to fill your bean bag with beans. You're going to be doing a 1/4 inch seam allowance, which lines the side up with the presser foot. So I'm going to go down a little bit away from the edge and start. Go slowly, because the first few stitches you're going to go and then you're going to back stitch. So push the back stitch button and then go forward again, lining that edge, always watching your edge of your fabric. Don't watch the needle. When you get near the corner, you're going to pivot, so you need to kind of slow down once you get close to the edge, and when you think you're about a 1/4 inch away, you're going to turn it, line it up with the side again, and then continue on. When you get to the end of that, you're going all the way, back stitching a few stitches, and then all the way off. Lift up your presser foot, and then you can cut on the thread cutter. Now that you're done sewing the two sides, you need to make sure that you leave this top side open, because that is where your beans are going to go. So always leave one side folded. It doesn't need to be stitched. It's already shut. And then the one side open, and start and do two sides sewn. Then you're going to trim your threads. And once you're all trimmed, you're going to turn it inside out. And then you're going to go to the iron. So turn it inside out. Try and poke your corners out. We have a point turner tool if you need, but you can usually get it with your fingers pretty good. And then you're going to press this by pushing the top sides in, because you don't want a raw edge on your bean bag. So you have to push these sides in and then take it to the iron when you have it exactly how you want it. And you need to have it at least a 1/4 inch in there. Mine has about a 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to press it down to make it nice so it'll stay that way. Okay, you can see that mine's not quite square. And so I want to make sure I push that in and get it exactly how I want it to be when it's finished before I press it. And pressing it will make it so that when you're hand stitching that top, it won't flip back up, and it'll stay down and nice while you hand sew. So that's where our beans are going to go. Once you're this far, that's when you can go and get your beans from the teacher. There's little cups in the beans, and you're going to need 2 cupfuls. If that's too much, just kind of look and see. If it's too full and you're worried about it shedding, just take a few out. But now we're going to hand stitch this open edge. All right, when you're hand stitching, you need to have pins to keep this shut. So I would recommend 3 pins across the top. And you need to put them down low enough that you can still stitch through this edge. And make sure they're horizontal with the edge. So just like that. When you're ready to hand stitch, you need your hand needle and your thread. Now your thread, it's really important that you get enough, or you're going to have to make more knots and try twice. So I would go all the way from one hand to your arm, like an arm length, and then do it one more time. So 2 arm lengths should be enough. Then you can cut your thread and thread your needle. Then you're going to take your hand needle, and I've already put it through the eye of the needle. You're going to have 2 threads, so find the edges, hook them up together, and that's where you're going to make your knot. So I like to make the knot by crossing over, making an X on the top, and then you rub it off your finger, kind of ball it up into a ball, and then pull it tight between your finger and your fingernail. So that should make a nice big knot. You need to practice that. It takes a little practice, but if you can get that, that'll help you. All right, so now you want to hide that big knot that we just made. So the way to hide it is to go from the inside of these two open edges into the corner. You're going to come up with your needle, and then when you pull it, the knot will be on the inside, and you can kind of tuck it down in like that. We're going to do an overhand stitch, which means we're just going back and forth. I'm using this blue thread, so hopefully you'll be able to see it, but when you do it, you'll probably want to match your thread as close to your fabric that you chose as possible so that your stitching doesn't show. But do you see how it's just going in one side and out the other, pulling it up in the same side over and over, and then pulling it up. And you'll do that. If you can take the time and be patient with yourself on the hand stitching, your beanbag will last a lot longer and you won't lose all your beans the first day you make it. Once you get to the end of your stitching and you've done all the way across, you need to make a knot at the end. This one we can't really hide, so we're going to go through and make a tiny little stitch, and then there's this loop right here of what is left. You're going to go through that loop. So make sure you get through both ends of it. It might be a little tricky. Once you've pulled that tight, then you need to do one more through that same place just to make sure it's a good knot, and then through the loop. And then you can trim that off. If you have any extra threads, you can trim them. And now you're ready to take your pins out, and your beanbag is finished.